Hi, we're back. I'm Rod Schaub, and this is the 6th short part of the video series on electric fencing. In this portion, we're going to talk about some of the tools you use, some of the things you want to do, some of the things you don't want to do when you're building electric fence. And this is going to be more on the permanent type of electric fence. Let's start off up here in the corner up here, barbed wire. Guys, this is not something that we want to ever electrify. I know back in the day when I was a kid, we electrified it because we couldn't keep that 17.5 gauge wire from breaking, and so we electrified this. But now that I've learned more, this is not something that's good to electrify. Electricity goes around the outside edge of this wire, and a lot of it jumps off at every one of these little points. So you're losing voltage at these points, okay? The other real reason not to do this is if you have kids or grandkids that would get caught in the fence, worse yet, a wife that gets caught in the fence, she would let you know for sure that that's not the thing, and we don't want to do that anymore. So don't electrify barbed wire. Another thing we want to talk about is if you run out of wire, and I've seen barbed wire that's been put together like this. This is not the correct way. Remember, the electricity goes around the outside. We want to have the best connection we can have. So don't wrap your wire where it looks like this. What I would really suggest that you do is use crimps, and you can have a really tight splice. And I'll show you a picture of this in just a second. Now, to do that, you're going to need a pair of crimpers. These can be purchased online, very, very handy, and different sizes of crimps for different things that you're doing, okay? These are the C23 crimps. These are pretty much the basic standard crimp, okay? One other thing that we don't want to do is we don't want to use our standard old fencing pliers as cutters, okay? These just don't do a very good job of cutting that stiff, hard, high tensile wire. And if it does anything, it's gonna really, really dull these. I'd suggest, if you only have a little bit to cut, get you a cheap pair of cutters, something like this, or you can get an intermediate pair. These are Knipex. These are really good fence cutters. These will cut it over and over and over. My choice is probably these, not only because they have a cutter up here, but because they're flat jawed and you can grab a hold of the wire and pull it pretty tight just by using these pliers. So I'm gonna take a minute, and I'm going to get the video up here, and we're going to take some pictures of what we have up here of other things that you might be interested in using. This piece right here, this is a real handy piece. This is a offset. It goes on a barbed wire fence, and it would keep your electric fence about 12 inches away from the barbed wire. Works really, really good. It does have a pin lock in it, so this is a really nice thing. I use it in several places. Most of the time it's when I'm trying to get back to where I really want to put the wire on. But if you want to keep cattle from pushing even on a barbed wire fence, this works really, really well. Some other things that we want to talk about, here are some shutoffs. And note that there's different kinds and different colors. What I would suggest is find one that you'll be able to see. And that's kind of why I like this middle one. Because if you put this middle one up on a post and you put it up here like this, you'll be able to see it from a distance because it's got that yellow handle. And please always mount it like it is right here where I'm showing you. Don't mount it so the handle can go straight up like this. because what happens if that bird sits on that handle, comes down, hits those little fins, and all of a sudden the fence is hot and you're tangled up in it. Not a good thing. Here we have some bullnose insulators. These are what go on the end of the wire when you're tying onto a hedge post or your corner post. This is what you would use. All of these work relatively well. If you're going to use porcelain, make sure you use the gray porcelain and not the white porcelain, okay? Here are some things that we can use. They also go on the corner post. As you can see, they would go on the corner post, and then one of them has a ratchet that would help you tighten the wire at that point, and this one just has a bull nose, which you wouldn't be able to tighten. You'd have to move on out further in the pasture to tighten it. We also have voltmeters. Guys, you gotta have a voltmeter. You gotta know how many volts are going through that fence. I really like the one here on the right. A lot of the chargers nowadays even have an on-off switch, and so you can shut that charger off at any point, anywhere you want to on the fence, if you have a charger that's built for that. And then here on the end, we have 3 or 4 different ways that we can tighten fence, and the tools used to tighten them. We'll show a demonstration of these in just a little bit. And this piece that's right here, I really don't use those. If you had a lot of area where maybe as in the timber and you were worried about limbs falling down on the fence and you didn't want to break it, that might be a place where you could put this piece of equipment because there's enough spring there that it would allow that to happen. Here we are at an end insulator. If you look at this picture, you can see the right end would be tied to the post. It comes out to the insulator. Note that the wires overlap. What ties it on to the post overlaps what goes on out to the fence. Also notice we put 2 crimps on this, and you can see that that's going to hold it relatively tight. Here we've tied a bullnose insulator on, but note that it's not correct. The green wire does not overlap the red wire and make this stronger. This is actually very weak, and this is the incorrect way to do it. Note that the right-hand side is where you would have tied it onto the post, and the red side is the side that would have been our hot wire. But note, when you look down here, you can see that it does not cross over, so it's very, very weak, and that is not the way to do that. If you did that with a porcelain insulator, it would break relatively easily. Okay, here we're going to show how you would tighten a fence using a daisy wheel. I do want you to note that there is a 1/2-inch square here. Do not use a ratchet here because because you get tension on this, it could come back and knock your teeth out. That's what it could do. Let me show you how you do this. You'd put this on the fence. You see the slot here. You'd put this on the fence. Then you grab your tool, put it into the fence, into that area. Then you twist this like this, and notice, see how it's getting tight? Now, you can fairly safely do this and not have the pressure there. So then all you have to do is slide your stop in, and you've got your fence tight.